What's up, guys? Will and Chris back with another episode of the Beluga Podcast, where we waste our lives on crypto Twitter and in the trenches so that you don't have to. Just as always, we're going to start today off with a little discussion on the majors. Since we missed last week, we'll talk through this massive knife through 50K that we saw on Bitcoin. Which I guess, Chris, you want to kind of give us the rundown on what happened there? It's
Yeah, totally.
brutal.
So I think it was Sunday, right? It was like
hmm
before opening, before Monday open, things just started nuking. And it was a lot of things. There's some Iran talk at the time. It was some this and that. There's North Korea stuff. I think some missiles went off, so everyone's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Um, and turns out it was the Japan carry trade, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with by now. But basically, long story short, the yen is cheap. You borrow against the yen to buy other things, right? And usually risk on assets. And as they were talking about um, doing a rate hike um, to decrease inflation, then or fight inflation, excuse me, then a lot of people had to sell those assets to go risk off, and Bitcoin was one of those, right? It wasn't just this; it was the market in general. Things were just nuking everywhere. It just happened first in crypto because crypto is 24/7 and global instantly. So things couldn't really go until Monday for the rest of the market, but things just nuked out. So you can see here, and you can look at these beautiful lines I have, of course. But we kind of went down here and cascaded. Then you had a huge knife down just in one month, in one bell motion, and it really, it looked bad. I remember I watched this thing the whole way down. And once it's under 50, I was like, I feel like my sentiment changed at least. Once we're into like 52-ish, I was like, man, this is not good. I think we made, like, I was still bullish. I was like, I think we're hitting like, early 40s, if anything. And it really knifed down quickly to the 48-ish, I believe. Yeah, 48-ish or something along those lines. And I forget what happened. If it was exactly that moment that the Bank of Japan basically said, look, we're not going to do this anymore. Turns out like the world is blowing up and we can't afford to do this anymore. And this is too dangerous because this is Monday already. Then the minute this is kind of through Sunday, yeah, exactly. So this is through Sunday evening, right, all the way, and then Monday comes up, and it really starts to nuke. And then right as it happens, Japan makes the announcement and just bounces right back up. It bounced beautifully off the line and just keep going up from there. And so it was just a nutty experience to watch the whole thing happen because it really felt like. Actually, I didn't realize it was one of the worst days. One of the folks I was talking to, it's one of the worst days since FTX from a
I
sort of
think it
like,
was the worst day since FTX.
yep, 30% down in one day for Bitcoin, which is just insane because you can imagine Bitcoin, 30% down for Bitcoin is probably like 99% down for everything else, And so like if you looked at ETH at the time, a similar thing, it just looked awful. You're looking at this chart here. I think ETH is down 40-ish at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit right at 40, right? Solana the same. Solana also had this, awful looking chart coming down here.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see.
180 to
Solana
110.
was 45% down. These are the three big tokens in crypto. And so if you look at anything else, I mean, the chart was absolutely horrific, to watch anything else just nuke. So anyway, it was one of those moments where it could have gone south, I think, without the Bank of Japan coming back and announcing something. It could have kept going south. But the fact that they turned it around and realized that, we'll just kick the can down the road and we'll see what happens later. All the gamblers came back and said, cool, let's fucking get back in the trade. And here we are. And then it bounced right back. And now I think we're looking at max bullishness again. So it was just a nutty time. It was the worst day in BTC and in crypto in a while. And everyone I knew was sort of panicking, both the liquid funds, but also traders and just like people that are like deep into space. Like, as this goes down, everything goes down. And it could be a longer time before it comes back because I think a lot of people are expecting a second half of the year to have this thing come back, and we have a lot of positive catalysts in front of us. So I think it was just a scary moment for everybody, but just one of those. It's kind of fun to watch. It's classic crypto. We haven't had it in a while of like this type of magnitude where something as big as Bitcoin goes down 30% in a day. But you always need a couple of these things to keep you alive and to keep the blood running. So. Yeah, I mean, were you watching it? Were you trading it, Will? Were you obviously you're just like paying attention, but were you doing anything around it at the time?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing as well. I mean, I've literally treated every single dip for the last like year and a half as a buying opportunity. I won't lie, I was a little bit nervous on this one. I did not catch the knife. I waited until Japan announced that they were kind of reverting that change. But yeah, I mean, I think it was like pretty scary. That was
Yeah,
the bottom
totally.
line. I don't trade on leverage, so I wasn't liquidated, but having all the coins you own go down 30% in that time frame is not fun. But I will say, I think the bounce that we saw after Japan reverted those changes was encouraging. We still have a lot of the same Iran FUD and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, I think these trades are back on the menu. I did notice one token that I've kind of been watching, which we'll talk further later. Was Aave. I did think what was interesting is we saw a number of DeFi tokens, including Aave, while they definitely nuked along with everything else, they immediately recovered. So that was encouraging to me to seeing DeFi kind of act stronger than a lot of the other groups of tokens. But
Not
yeah,
that
no, to
crazy of a
answer your
move,
question,
relatively
it
speaking.
was yeah, and it held up pretty decently through the initial stages of everything else getting destroyed. And it was great timing because I'd been wanting to buy some of this, so I was able to buy some Aave on the dip, but that was really the only thing that I was actively trading. I think I mean now where we're at is while the Japan situation seems stable, at least for now. There's still like housing market FUD in the US. We still have the subpar economic data. So, I mean, we're not entirely out of the woods yet. I think all we can do now
Oh,
is just kind of keep watching. Um, but I do think the bounce was pretty encouraging across the board.
yeah,
Um,
agreed.
and I
Agreed.
mean,
I think it's,
on-chain activity still looks quite strong. I think I saw ETH2's hit an all-time high last week. Pump.Fun, which
yep.
again we'll talk about later, still crushing it. So I mean, those aren't really signs uh, of a dying market to me. I think people are still pretty bullish across the board. And
Yep.
ETF inflows, I think, still stay pretty strong from what I've seen. So
Yep.
yeah,
And we're
I
still in the
mean, a
summer,
lot of
you
encouraging
know. So
things.
this is like,
Yep.
it feels like the thawing of the summer, really, right? Where it's like people are coming back, there's some kind of like futzing around here and there. Some people are doing weird things, but people are coming back. And I would say I feel like retail didn't even notice, for one, like on the crypto side, because it happened to the whole world. So no one even cared, right? And so the retail interest that I see from my friends is still a thing. Like it's not like I still feel like it's coming, and I feel like I have more friends more interested in getting back in than ever, despite all this, And I think it's because it was not a crypto thing; it was like the whole world going to hell. So anyway, I think overall still bullish, and like if you were positioned correctly, and you were able to take advantage of it. God bless you. You're stronger than I am. But I had a bunch of orders set that never got triggered. I set them a bit lower. But otherwise, just another sort of white knuckle day in crypto, and you just hold on and hope for the best. And it looks like we made it to the other side at least for now. But like you said, I did think it was sort of a little bit of a kick the can down the road. Um,
Yep.
and
People are
uh,
still definitely
and we
nervous. I mean, I saw there's a guy who bought literally the absolute bottom of the Pepe nuke during all of this with I think 4 or 5 million bucks, and he sold today for I think 20K profit or something.
oh my God,
I feel like yeah, no, crazy, but it shows that people are still a little bit nervous about this market. Jump was
right?
selling more ETH today as well, which is curious. I don't know what they're up to
Yep.
mid investigation. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it feels
We,
like we're kind of on the fence here. We're at like a decision point, so just have to
yeah.
watch things, see where
People
it
are, yeah,
goes.
I think you're right. I think if you read it, it looks optimistic, but cautiously optimistic for sure, especially every
Yep,
day Kamala appears to get stronger.
yep.
I think that also makes people nervous. It makes me nervous, as well, and that doesn't feel great. But usually, I think regardless of who wins, right, the election is obviously part of it. Like rate cuts are inevitable at this point, right? We know that's coming, and that's the real decision point, right? At least in the beginning, right? So rate cuts will for sure be its own thing, and usually leading into the election, the truth is, um, they know what they're doing. Meaning, they need the markets to look good so people are happy, and the incumbents look like they're in favor. And so I would imagine a rate cut is right around the corner. We get 2 months of positive price action across the board for crypto, for everything else, and then the Kamala folks can claim that everything's all hunky dory and try and get it in. And so we'll see where it goes. But all those things, it just feels like we're right around the corner from at least some good momentum. Is it going to last? How hard is it going to be? How that's all unclear to me, and we'll find out. But at least it's not all doom and gloom right now, and I think we have some stuff to look out for. So I think if there's some things that are really down bad that you like, you should perhaps pick them up right now. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at your list of coins on the right there, like everything is still kind of in a sea
Just
of red today. It's not as
incredibly,
if we're still ripping
incredibly
up.
red. Yeah,
Um,
it's just super down bad still. Um, yeah.
I guess
So
on that side of things, should we get into more of an altcoin discussion? Like what kind of
yeah, let's
you
do
you
it.
mentioned before we started recording that you had some thoughts on the alt market. We'd love to get into that some more.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think really like the question that I think I have in my head is how do you position yourself right now, right? Which is like there's a tweet that you always see, which is like you don't want to be that guy that like comes in and logs on and thinks about this industry all day and then like has no exposure to it, and just like doesn't do anything about it. And I think that's most people in crypto, to be honest, right? Because it's fun to talk about. The culture of crypto is hilarious. The actors are hilarious. Just like all the nonsense is just really is just a whole show, and then people sort of have tons of thoughts about where to go and how to do things. They never do it, right? And so I think a lot, what are your actual views? It's easy to believe that you know something ex post, right? And even the most sober sort of like on-chain person can still delude themselves into thinking something that they didn't actually think at the time. I do it all the time. And so like the question is, what are your actual beliefs and how do you express that in some way? And I think what I was it was pretty interesting. Like, I think if you look back at the last 6 months, right, this cycle's been different than everything else, than every other cycle, because two reasons. One is we haven't seen, usually it is Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, right? And so, or whatever. It's sort of just Bitcoin, ETH, and alts, right, I guess. And you would see that Bitcoin rips, you play that trade. The minute it tops, you now buy into ETH, right? And then you could do all the alts. And that's where a lot of the money's made. And that's where the fun is, and the end of the cycle is celeb meme coins, like celeb coins, right? And that's usually what it was. And this cycle was a bit different because we started out BTC very strong, and we were waiting for ETH to pick up, and it never really did. Sure, it wasn't bad, but it didn't really go anywhere. And then Solana coins and Solana itself ripped. And basically, the meme coins, which signals the end of the cycle, really came into play in full force for a long time. And the celeb coins even came in pretty early. And it either means two things: we're at the end of the cycle, or the cycle's different, right? And it's unclear which one it is yet. I tend to believe the cycle's different this time, right? And it just means a reorganizing or a different sequencing of things. But if you think about that, the things that came during this cycle that were launched, a lot of them were high FTV, low flow coins, right? And that's gone from something that just happened all the time to now something everyone's talking about. It's actually nothing different than before, right? We've been doing this forever, but it's looking at tokens like ZK Sync or really any of these things that came out basically in the last 6 months, where you came out at a $10-20 billion mark FTV on a 10% float or less in some cases. And it was just down only ever since then, right? And I feel like generally speaking, the sentiment on that right now is so negative. Everyone thinks you're just going to zero, right? And there's a case to be made. I was talking to a friend about this. That was pretty interesting. There's a case to be made in which the other side of it actually is that the unlocks that are coming up for those, and especially I think that's the second part. Is like not only do you have high float left, low FTV, low float, high FTV tokens, which means the price is very high. There's no float, which is a lot of selling to get to fully circulating. Every unlock, you need to find X number of buyers in order to make this thing stay at the same price. Otherwise, it's going down because people are selling, right? And so if you look at that, the unlocks coming up for a lot of these, it was valued about like, 400 or 500 billion, give or take, right? Before all this nonsense. And if you look at now, after these major corrections that everyone's down so bad, the unlocks for those are now like, let's call like 80 to 120 billion, somewhere in that range, right? Depending on where you price this thing at. And so the expectations for those are both super low, and the unlocks that people thought they were going to have are also far less. And so if you look at both those things and in combination, that you would say right now everyone is so afraid and so scared of the market. They're still mentally long, but their hands are weak. So everyone's going into majors. They're just buying BTC, ETH, and Sol, right? And candidly, that's where I'm mostly spending my time today, right? And all the alts across the board that are historical, like high quality alts, have been just bleeding all season, have done nothing, right? So you have that plus the high FTV low float stuff just generally means that you're like, if you're bullish, and if we're looking at a couple of these narratives that are coming up and we think that's real, then you should potentially allocate some more into these alts, right? Just because it is a bet that when things rip again, and especially specifically when ETH rips, because I think for at least my belief is the ETH ETF around the corner is really going to have a bunch of inflows. It's going to cause real price change, and is it going to rip up instantly? That I don't know, but I think it's going to be fundamental changes to the price and like real inflows that stay. And if that's the case, all the other alts, it's a rising tide that'll lift all the ships there, right? And so not only that, but also high FTV, low float stuff that just like hasn't had a time in the bull run yet. So these are new people like new coins, right? And people like new stories, and they haven't had a cycle yet. So I tend to think that like if you're going to play anywhere right now, it's probably worth doing, in my opinion, I'm probably going to do 10-20%, just like spraying into a bunch of the in my opinion, like high quality, like fully circulating alts, or like heavily circulating alts, and then a couple of the like high FTV low flow coins that now are like down bad. Like take a look at Athena as an example. Athena came out at 10, went to 20 billion FTV, and now it's down to 3. Right? Is Athena going to make it?
Oh,
I don't
I didn't
know.
know. I honestly didn't know it was down that bad.
It's down really bad. Yeah. But like is Athena going to work? I don't know. And I'm not gonna like think about it too much. Um,
Well, it's actually, I mean, I think
okay, 4.5 now. Still, it's
back
come
when
up a little bit.
Athena launched, whenever it was, a couple months ago now, we recorded our podcast episode and we basically said that while ETH dropping in price, because at the time everything was like mooning, right? So this
Yep.
carry trade idea, uh, sorry, not carry trade, like saddle trade idea made a lot of sense,
Yep.
capturing the delta in yield, but when things start going down again, then you don't have those same dynamics. So the yield goes way down, which means nobody wants the token anymore.
Correct.
This
Exactly.
played out
Especially
exactly like we thought, but it also, I mean, the same is true on the way up. I think it's a highly reflexive coin.
exactly. That's
Um,
what I'm saying, right? Like it's for sure down bad. Do I think it's going to work long term? I'll stay out of that one for now, just because I think there's a lot of
yeah,
open questions. To their credit, they've held off okay so far, and having the reserve and all this stuff plays in. But again, just as this an example, right? If this was at 20 billion at some point, right? Just like you said, is a highly reflexive. If this goes down fast, it comes up fast too, right? Because people will pile back into this the minute things are ripping because the funding rate is going to be looking strong again, nice yield. Plus, it's a stable coin, so quote unquote. So like, you should be able to get some out. So like, it's an example of like a high FTV low flow coin that 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 could be a good one to pile into if you're bullish, right? If you are bullish, right? So because it's hard to see how it goes further down unless it goes to like 0, But that, I mean that's possible too. So anyway, just to say there, like I think when I'm thinking about where to go and how to think about like where am I spending time looking into it, it's those tokens, and then of course like blue chip. It's funny to say this word and say that blue chip meme coins, but some of the blue chip meme coins I think are also worth talking about. And worth having a bag of at least. So yeah, I don't know. What about you, Will? Where are you spending time?
yeah, no, I've been big on the fully circulating kind of long time Lindy altcoins. One that we've talked about for a while is Phantom, of course. I mean, I think honestly, Phantom has been my biggest like alt focus, other than I've unfortunately been buying Arbitrum for the last couple of weeks, which is just absolutely shit the bed on me, but I still am holding out hope. But yeah, I mean, I think Phantom's compelling because it matches exactly what we were just talking about with, supply fully in circulation. You don't have the same overhangs, but they also have the cool catalyst of the Sonic chain launch. Yeah, go. Holy shit, Arbitrum just looks
Holy cow,
awful.
this is bad. I'm looking at this like, dude, this is a terrible looking chart. Because I remember last time you talked about it,
I thought
I
I
was like,
was
okay, it's at all-time lows. It can't get worse. This is like the place to go. And now I'm like, damn, that looks like a
I
range high now.
started
The
buying
all-time
at
low.
all-time lows. That's when I started buying, and
Oh man, which is
it's
crazy.
cursed. I
Well,
mean,
OP's
yeah,
having a good
honestly, it
time,
doesn't
relatively
make a
speaking, I think. The
nah.
OP token looks
It's
way
well, kind
better.
of. Yeah, it does look better, but it's been shit on equally for the last couple months.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jeez. But yeah, FTM, not bad.
Yeah. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I think like really my bread and butter for trades in crypto are things that looked bottom or that look bottomed, things that have a clearly identifiable catalyst in the future, and things that I can wrap my head around grabbing attention. Phantom seems like it kind of fits all three of those categories. But yeah, I mean, I think like you make a great point, Chris, on um, all these altcoins just being down so bad. I honestly don't think a spray and pray strategy is a horrible idea. I think you could get away if we're right and this is a different cycle and we're heading into the second half, then basically all of these altcoins that you see on the screen here are probably going to do fairly well. So pick the ones that are exciting to you. Maybe you look for extra things like I did for catalysts or specific events that might drive more attention, or some tech upgrade you're excited about, whatever it is. But yeah, I think if we're right and we are heading into the second half, we haven't had the alt run yet, so
exactly.
presumably that would be part of it as well.
Totally.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't think you
maybe to
need to
jump
overthink
to
it.
maybe to jump to one token in general that's been the talk of town as of late that fits in this category too. Yeah, Will, do you want to get into it? I mean, let's see really
Yeah,
quickly. It's one of those things that's just hilarious. Um, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I think, well, the big discussion on Twitter has not been really like the tech or things that you might typically think will pump the price. It's been mostly, I think Raul's tweet kind of started
Yeah,
the line of
I think it's
tweets,
the
if I
starter.
remember
I
correctly.
agree.
So he posted this big analysis of Sui, which like for anybody, I mean, Raul Paul is fairly well respected in the space, but he's also like kind of a clown and does paid shows for this stuff. Um, but we then saw, I mean, so many influencers start tweeting about Sui directly after, so it seems like they went on a little marketing spree there.
Yep.
But it is interesting to see it working. We haven't had, in my memory, we haven't had another L1 really make a run other than, Solana. In
Yep.
months since we had that initial meme coin run back in, I don't know, November, December, when I think Say was running.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see, the L1 trade back on the menu, so to speak. Um, I mean, look, I think Sui is like a fine blockchain. Is it Move as well? I always mix up Say and Sui.
It is a move.
Um,
Yeah, it's a move one. It's also a
yeah.
move.
So like, I mean, it's good tech. It just like has never. It's what I would call like a trader's coin. I don't know how much is going on the chain, if anything, really. But I think it
Yeah,
has
I
a
can't say
decent
I've used
narrative
it.
to get pushed. I've never used it. Has a decent narrative to push. I mean, I'm sure it's fast and cheap to use.
Right.
Which is, we've had that narrative before. That's kind of, Solana came out of the gutter as the ETH killer. Maybe we'll start seeing Solana killers, so to speak. I've seen some people talking about
Yeah.
that.
And it feels like that's a story anyway, right? Which is um, SVM aside, people like, even forgetting the SVM stuff, it feels like that's the general like narrative right now that a lot of folks are chasing, which is what's even better than Solana. Because even Solana goes down, even Solana's seen a bunch of congestion. It's like seeing the classic stuff with success. It's not, I wouldn't like, say it's like they're bad or anything, but it is like the story of still, we have this. the things that haven't come out yet, you've got Monad, right? You've got Mega ETH, you've got that new one that Paradigm announced yesterday. I don't
Embarrassing.
know what the hell it is.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's right. I forgot about that.
yeah, I forget the name of it, to be honest. The one, some paralyzed EVM L2 thing. Um, and so yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, we'll see how long it lasts. I feel like the move tokens have always been like a lot of talk and not much to go with it. Not that it's like not saying like a fundamental, more from a price perspective. It's like, there's a lot of expectation, right? Aptos April, or was that Aptos April? I can't remember.
Yep, it
Was like a
was
whole thing, and
supposed to
like
be.
that turned out to be nothing. We've been like teased announcements for a long time. It's always been nothing, and like it hasn't gone anywhere. Volume sucks. Nobody really uses it, so we'll see where it goes. And so geez, this is the Aptos chart. So if you look at Sui, I mean, it looks a little better. Honestly, looks like it does have. I would say this is not a horrible looking chart, truthfully. Um, but where does it go? I don't know. We'll see. But like, it is always funny to see the coordinated shill. Just like you said, you come in here, all of a sudden, just search Sui. All these are recent, and everyone is talking about Sui all of a sudden. It's like, okay, come on, guys. Like nothing's happened, and then you see a lot of this type of nonsense. You know, here's a chart. We'll just
Yep.
draw it up and see where it goes. So I don't know. I probably have a bag. I think I still have a bag of Sui from a while ago, so I probably still have it. But like, I don't think it's crazy to buy a little bit and like see where it goes. But I would expect to get wrecked on it, and so I would probably not go too hard into it. But I'm a bit of a gambler, so I'll do it just for the fun of it. But yeah, these things I would say
Yeah. I mean, I feel
you
like
can
a good
tell me,
rule of
but I feel like
thumb is if you see like 25 influencer shills within a span of 3 days on something, if you own it, you should probably sell it. And if you don't, you should probably not buy it. I think
yeah,
that's a pretty
exactly.
good rule of thumb.
I think it's definitely a good rule of thumb. Although I'll be honest, like I see it sometimes, and I'll be like, okay, I tend to be like on Twitter a lot, so I'm fast to it. I'll see it
Mhm.
and immediately get in and just do a quick flip and get out. But like that only works until it doesn't, And
Yeah.
the risk is never worth the reward, because the one time it goes, because then you build up some confidence, and then you're like, oh, I'm fucking good at this, and you'll just like rip a big bag into the next one that you just absolutely get wrecked on. So I think, like you said, if you're like smart about it, if you think about it, not even be smart about it, it's clearly a bad idea to do that. So, but it is funny to see the paid shell come back, which I think is bullish in general. Like the fact that people were back into that at least is a positive sign. So, I'm optimistic at least, but we'll see where Move goes in general. This whole Move ecosystem, Sui, Aptos, or movement or these types of things. We'll see if it really picks up steam. But yeah.
I mean, it's a somewhat compelling narrative, I think. And Move seems like good tech overall. Like these chains are, in fact, fast and efficient and cheap. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, never really got much love.
No, there's just nobody there. That's the problem. And the whole point, the
Yeah.
whole story of Move is let's get Web 2 builders, right? And people who can write regular software into crypto. And it turns out none of them have any interest in getting into crypto. And so, like, that's the issue. And if you're already good at Solidity and smart contracts, right, that's fine. Or if you've, like, gotten the whole Rust thing down here in SVM now, you're going to do that, right? And so you're building a net community from scratch, targeting a good audience, and in theory, a good story, but there's no demand yet there. So it hasn't really panned out. So, um,
Yep.
we'll see where it goes. But I mean, maybe even going one level further, right? So these are some of the what I would consider higher quality alts, right? Yeah, and it's funny to use the word higher quality alt with this chart, or like this chart, but some of them can get much worse. And so maybe we can shift to the next talk of the town, which is I feel like the last few days have all been about our friends at Pump.Fun. And so let's see, where is this thing? So it kind of came out with here, and Pump.Fun, for what it's worth, for those who maybe don't know, it's a really good product. I'll give them that. And we talked about this, I think, last time. And looking at this probably doesn't give you the feeling of a very good product, but like, in short, it's a shitcoin launcher. And so it makes it very easy for you to just start a new token. And usually it's actually very expensive. Like, writing code in the smart contracts one is actually not the hardest part, because usually you just fork this stuff and move on. Which means you can just copy someone else's, right, and just change the name or whatever and just ship it. The harder thing to do with this is usually you have to front the bill, in so many words. In order to create a token, you need to have a liquidity pool that people can actually trade in and out of, right? And so let's just say, as a simple rule of thumb, you probably need to put in at least like 25, 30, 40, 50K is my read to like actually get a
On
token off the
ETH,
ground. And then
maybe.
yeah,
Not on
fair enough.
Solana.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm used to these days. But like, you put in some amount of money. It's not zero. It's not like $10. You have to put in a real amount of money
Yeah.
that we can buy and trade and like actually do things. And then hopefully from there you build a community, and then it grows, and then it keeps building. Right. That's the intention. So it's expensive. It's prohibitively expensive to like make it for anyone. And what Pump.Fun did was they said, hey, look, let's take this bonding curve mechanism and use that instead, which means instead of having a liquidity pool, we will just have people buy into it, right? And as you buy the token, the price will go up, and if you sell, the price goes down. It's like very simple, right? And then over time, we'll use the fees that we take from there and use that to create a liquidity pool. And if it works, you'll graduate onto a proper swap, like Radium or something, right? Like proper AMM, or wherever it might go, where it just trades now like any other token. There's a liquidity pool, people are trading in out of it. It's automated market maker. It's the whole thing, right? And so what Pump.Fun did was make it dead simple, both technology wise, meaning you just push a button, right? And also capital wise to create a token, right? And through that, this is kind of at the peak of the meme cycle for Solana. This cycle a couple months ago, where this came out, and last time we showed the chart, which it was stunning to me, on the revenue since March when they've come out. I think they've made, I think it was $100 million.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the top grossing applications in all of crypto.
I think it's number one in the last 24 hours as of when we're
Yeah, I remember
recording this
seeing
right now.
that. Yeah, exactly. It was just nuts, So
I mean, yeah, I think like the UI is honestly kind of gross. Like there's so much
here we go.
going on the screen. But they took the coin creation from 30 clicks to 3 clicks, and there's no upfront cost. So it really is. I mean, it's a game changer for launching coins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there
pretty
it is.
legendary. And like they're just making tons of money. It's just insane.
Well, and
Now on the other
it's
side of
crazy to me that they're making all of this entirely off of just it's a 1% transaction fee, I think, on the platform. They're
Yep.
not even all the liquidity pools just get sent to the burn address. They don't even collect fees on that. So it's
Yep.
crazy. I mean, imagine what they'd be making if they kept the
If they
the
kept the
LP
pools,
fees.
if they kept it on here, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
insane. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a good example of like a pretty good product. And just as like, really, I think abstracted away a lot of crypto for people, which is like
Mhm.
cool. Like meme coins are the meta, and meme coins are the thing. How to make it dead simple. A lot of people have ideas for tokens. I was with a friend the other day. I remember they were watching the Trump speech, and then on Pump.Fun, and they were just literally every single word
I
they
was
would
doing
make a
the
token
same.
for.
Yeah.
Exactly, right. And so you have like hundreds and thousands of tokens getting shipped, every second, for every possible thing. You just hope one of them catches steam, right? Because if it does, it works. It comes out. Now that's been the idea, and then recently there's been a bunch of commentary about like basically how do the economics of that work, right? Is it actually real? Does it work? What's the success rate look like? All of those things when it comes to Pump.Fun, and excuse me, this was the take basically, which is it actually turns out it's like a very terrible place to make money. That's like basically what the story that came across the timeline at least, and they used this table, um, which is we've launched 1.7 million coins. Bond to Radium means it actually is big enough of a token now with enough liquidity that can make it to Radium like a proper AMM.
Which
So
is
you
only
consider that
like
success.
30K market cap or something, right? Isn't it
Right. It's
super
it's
low?
really not big. It's not big
Yeah.
at all. Yeah. It's just above like something very nominal, right? And then, only 1.4% make it there, right? And at a 30K liquidity pool, right? Or 30K market cap, it's not even a liquidity pool, probably. It's like 30K market cap token. Like, um, a lot of those are likely still not making money for you. Like you've made some money, but you probably didn't make a ton yet. And so just like kind of boiling this down, I think a million market cap is probably where you want to be at. But like the chances are just absolutely trash here, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that's mostly what people were kind of talking about, and sort of it pivoted to this conversation around it being not only a bad place to make money, but a lot of Indian snipers that are mostly the people that are that are making the money here, and then also the fact that maybe it's like value extractive to Solana. But yeah, I don't know. This has been a setup. I've been following this for tangentially. Will, like, any thoughts? I know you've been watching a bit more than I have. I think.
Yeah, I think, well, I'll just add one interesting anecdote from a guy that goes by Bread Guy on Twitter. One of my biggest fun points of Solana is their inflation rate, which I've talked about a bunch before. The interesting thing with, I don't remember when he tweeted, it was probably the last 2 days or so. But the interesting thing is, despite I think it's like 50 or 60 million dollars worth of Solana is emitted every single day. Um, Based on current Pump.Fun numbers of, again, these liquidity pools that get deployed are just sent to the burn address. Nobody can access them. The Solana in the LPs is gone forever. Something like 25% of Solana's inflation rate over the last couple, I think maybe last month, has been combated by the Solana locked in the Pump Fund LPs, which is insane to think about. But I thought that
That's
was
pretty
really interesting.
savage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I didn't even think of
And
that.
it's gone forever. It's gone forever.
That's actually incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, wow. I didn't even think of that.
So,
That's
I mean, it
amazing. What an
introduces, like,
incredible way to
yes, it's
fight the
value
feud.
extractive, but like, that's kind of cool, I think.
Seriously,
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
nuts.
We'll see. It can't maintain this rate forever, I think, especially without new money coming in.
Right. It's already
Because
dipping, I
as we've
think.
seen,
Right.
it's already dipping. I think the Trump Elon thing was like peak coin creations. They do have like I mean, the problem is you have all these people, as we just saw with the stats, all these people just pumping out new coins, but who wants to buy these new random coins that they're just launching? I wonder, I'm actually curious how many of the coins launched on the platform don't get a single buy other than whoever created the coin. But look, I mean, I think to call Pump.Fun a bad actor is just like super disingenuous. I think it's a well-built app
Totally.
and people are using it for what it's designed to be used for. Um, I don't know.
In my opinion, it's the app
I
of the
don't think
cycle.
I don't
No
think it's a
question.
negative, honestly. And I think
No.
yeah, well yeah, I mean that's a huge endorsement. I think for sure it's like at least half responsible for the attention Solana has been able to maintain over the last couple months.
100%.
Even if you, I mean, if, I think the biggest coin that came out of it is like Michi or something, which is only 60 mil market cap. Um, but just in terms of like market mind share, like even I, who's a huge fodder of Solana, and I don't even really trade meme coins, even I was spending the Elon Trump interview on Pump Fun just watching to see if I could catch a
Right.
cool one. Like that's a killer app. Um,
I agree with
yeah,
that.
I think it's great.
I
I
agree with
also
that.
think it's cool that the founders are kids basically,
Yeah,
crushing it. I think that's really cool too.
totally. And he's just like on Twitter, like he just took it all in stride.
Yeah.
All the shit talking, he's just taking it in stride, responding to people, sharing his opinions about why it's good and why it's bad and what they're doing with it. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of respect for him. I think they're doing a great job. And like, again, I think it's without a question the app of the cycle. You could have maybe argued it was Friend Tech a while ago, but that feels like such a distant memory. And this is like not even remotely close. This is far, far, far beyond anything that they've done. So
Yeah.
will it last? Will it go? Who knows? But I think it has staying power. I think it'll last and it's keep doing the thing. And they continue to build stuff and add more to it. So I can't see why this would go any other direction. So,
Yeah.
um,
I guess
so
just
yeah,
while
but
we're
but
on this topic, I just see
yeah,
Waz's
yeah,
reply under this, which made me think of we were talking about like the MEV problem on Solana a while ago and how
yep,
all these platforms have like, in my opinion, maliciously set like default slippage values and everything. Uh,
yep.
Meow, or does he go by Weir Meow? What's the Jupiter guy?
Oh
Whatever. The founder of Jupiter came out with a tweet the other day, basically like apologizing for that stuff. So it's interesting that
boy,
they're now walking this back. But Solana Mev has been brutal. I mean, if you just read this tweet
yeah, it
here,
really has
like
been.
Jared from Subway, for context, is the most infamous Mev sandwich botter
Sandwicher.
in the industry, and you can see Solana Mev has crushed him this year. So
I was surprised he was
um,
just 200 mil just from this, and that's undercutting it too,
by a
which
lot,
is just
yeah.
nuts.
I mean, you
That's
can see it
insane.
if you're trading these coins. I mean, I've seen like 200K sandwich attacks on like 50K market cap coins. Not even joking. It's crazy.
Fucking insane. Yeah, this is your oh, this is your comment. This is
Oh
the
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the
yeah.
confirmation from Bread Guy.
He had a whole tweet about it, but yeah, it's interesting.
Crazy for sure. It's at the very minimum, it's fun to watch, you know, and it is an example of like a real application people are using. You may not like what it's for, but people certainly do, and they're making money, and like it's a real thing. So, um, which is the thing. But like you said, I think it's hilarious that everyone's doing it. It's like minute by minute, just going off every word he says and making a token, and just like looking at this is just like brain damage, you know. But
It's
you can see
insane.
these tokens. You're like, what is the chart here? Um, like these tokens are just tiny. There's just nothing going on here, you know. Um, so it's just kind of
Yeah, this
crazy.
is a
Ten million
10,000
dollar,
market
ten
cap.
thousand dollar market. I thought it was 10 million. It was a $10,000 market cap. I mean, it's absolutely nuts, dude. Which is kind of funny. To maybe shifting gears, like you know, another thing that you know, in a related world, um, what the hell is it? This came out the other day, which is a similar version of this is, in my opinion, the non-crypto native version of what you would do on the Trump speech, right? On the Trump speech, you and me were like on Pump.Fun, just like you know, trolling through shit coins, trying to make a bag, and everyone else, you know, the other people are sitting here doing this instead, which I think was kind of interesting. And this is probably the best use. This is the most interesting that's happened on Polymarket. But basically, on Polymarket, the prediction market for Trump's speech, or like I guess his talk with Elon yesterday, there was this market that was created, sort of guessing which of the things he would say, and tampon was one of the lowest ones. I think you said it was 5%, Will, right?
Yeah, it was like
And it
five or
ended up
six
being the one
percent
that took
before
it.
it started.
Yeah, it ended up being the one that took it home. And so, to me, it is two sides of the same coin, which is like the crypto native way is just like free permissionless way, just make tokens, make shitters that just mimic the thing. But you can also see a more structured behavior on Polymarket emerge trying to tackle the same thing. And what was the volume on this? 4 million bucks.
4.5 mil was bet when everything was final. I don't know what the actual volume was. There, I know
I mean, it's just
Polymarket's
tiny
volume has
still.
been going through the moon overall, like
Yeah,
relative to what they were doing before.
yeah, totally. And so the only thing I'll say about Polymarket is like the amount of attention Polymarket gets right now, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I'm not knocking them at all. I think I think it's cool. I look at it all the time. It's been around for a long time. It's not like it just came into existence. The thing that did put into existence was raising that money from Founders Fund, number one. And number two, I think with the polling being so abhorrently bad for the for the sort of for the presidential election, people are seeking an alternative way to view this stuff. And Polymarket was at right place, right time. Plus, the announcement really allowed them. So it's not luck. You know, they've just been trugging along for years. And so shout out to them for believing it. But you know, when I look at this, it was funny a couple weeks ago, the whole world, in my opinion, was Polymarket, prediction market that, you know, like everything I saw was about prediction markets and how that's the future of everything. It's the onboarding tool for the whole world or whatever. And I've always thought that was just complete nonsense, which doesn't mean it's bad, you know, but it's just, in my opinion, it's classic sort of like smooth brain crypto people like way overstating the impact of something. If you look at Polymarket today, a couple things. One is just like, people were saying is a new source of news. This is where you can actually go figure out what people really think, and this is how you like figure out what's going on, right? If that was the case, like the cleanest example why that's gone the other way is looking at Tim Waltz, right? Him as the VP pick, he was like a 2% chance in Polymarket. No one had thought about it. So if the idea is the market always knows and reporters don't, that's clearly an example that didn't work, you know. And there's plenty of examples like that all over Polymarket. Number two,
Do you know what the,
was also
sorry to
hilarious.
interrupt. Do you know what
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
the comparisons were to like the actual polls? Like what were they rating his chances at? I
I
didn't even
honestly don't
look.
know. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know either. I have to go back and look at like maybe like a 538, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
chart
just
and
by
look at the
nature,
Polymarket and
only
compare it.
crypto people are using this app, and like, you know, we're not known for
Exactly.
our election predictions.
Political beliefs, you know, exactly. Which is goes to the next one, which is like, you know, back a couple weeks ago, right when Trump was way ahead, people were like, Polymarket is news. This is the future of the world, right? And Trump's ahead in the polls, or at least ahead in the prediction markets. And now that Kamala shifted ahead, in the last couple of weeks. It's funny to see the timeline immediately shift to, well, this is just a bunch of bots. It's a bunch of how hard is it to buy a market anyway? It's the Dems just like flooding the markets with a bunch of nonsense to try and change the odds and convince people that Kamala's winning. It's like, dude, come on, it's just insane, Cope. You can't have it both ways. And so it's just funny to see how this stuff comes out, which is, again, it's not that it's bad. It's just this like complete over like hyperinflation of the expectation of what this can do and what it is. And if you boil it down to what it really is, at the end of the day, like, do I think it's useful at high volume? Yes. But I think the simple thing to do is like, look, the volume, everyone always talking about volume here. Like, the numbers we're talking about here are absolutely trivial still, not to like denigrate it, but like $4.5 million on something, like, dude, the amount, like, shitcoins do 80 million volume. Like the worst shitcoin do 80 million. Like Nero did like 200 million volume in like 6 hours. You know what I mean? So like it's just not even remotely close. And so if you think about like, and I think they were like hyped because they hit $1 billion in total volume, something like that a couple weeks ago. And Hyperliquid does 2 billion a day, right, or whatever, right? So like the amount of money and attention being traded in elsewhere is like way ahead. So like, is it a useful input? Yes. Is it the future prediction markets? Is it the future of news? Is this like where all the most accurate information is? Like, it's just a ridiculous comment, So I think that it has sobered up over the last few weeks. At least my timeline feels like it has, because people have started to realize that, like, well, it's been wrong about a bunch of things, and now it's saying things I don't like, so I'm not going to pay attention to it, And so I feel like a lot of people go the other way. Plus, the CFTC or like Elizabeth Warren has sent out another notice saying she wants to take down Polymarket. So I think that's poured a bunch of cold water over it, and. I hope they didn't miss their moment. I think they still have time to launch a token, and they should, But anyway, that's like, I don't know. Like, I always get like a little bit like, I always get like a little bit on my soapbox when we talk about Polymarket. I think it's great, and I use it. I gamble on it. I remember when there was back. Will SBF get arrested before 2023 or whatever? It was a massive no. I bet yes, and I made a bunch of money on it, which is great. But that's the classic thing. It's like by definition, the way to make money in here, if it's going to succeed, most people have to be wrong, And so, like, by definition, it's not a good place for news. Then, it's about being wrong in order to make money. So, I just think these things are just conflicting piece of advice, and you see just hyper shilling on it recently, although it's gone down. So, I don't know. What's your take? Well, like, do you think are you still seeing a bunch of positive stuff about it, or is it like kind of calmed down for you as well?
Not as much. Yeah, there's definitely that like euphoria period where I also remember seeing like 5 decks for prediction markets in the span of like two
Yeah,
weeks. Like
exactly.
everybody was trying to hop on the train. I mean, there's still a lot of buzz around it, but it's more like I think to your point, when crypto people liked the outcomes it was showing, for example, Trump, like everybody was posting Trump's odds and saying how great and how accurate it was. Most of the conversation I've seen recently was like, people posting this tampon thing, which I feel like is getting closer to the actual nature of what the platform is, which is a place for people to bet on outcomes for things. I think there's a world in which what I guess you could call like financialized polling like this ends up being accurate, but the reality is, one, there's just not that much volume happening right now, so like it can't be accurate. Two, there are basically only crypto people using this, so crypto biases will be very strong throughout basically every prediction on the site. I think there's a world again in which that becomes not the case. I think maybe a platform like DraftKings, if they did like election prediction data like this, maybe it would be more accurate just based on the number of users.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think the reality is our polling data and how we gather it now across the board is just like not that great. When you're using
Yeah,
small
totally. It turns
subsections
out
of
just
people, you're
calling
never
small
going to
groups of
get,
people and asking what they're going to do
yeah, you're
is not
never
a
going
good
to
way to
get
fucking get
a super
information.
accurate view of things. So I think in my mind, just having enough users to give a real like significant data point is kind of the barrier.
Yeah,
And enough users from like different backgrounds and stuff. I mean, you need to get to a point where most biases are drowned out.
totally, totally.
Which
I mean,
they're
to be fair
certainly
to them,
not
like
there.
these numbers are all incredible. All these
Yeah.
charts are great. You know, but it was like literally zero before. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it's
but still, I
interesting.
mean,
It
it's
was,
great.
I mean, I remember it being around forever, but I never used it. I mean,
Exactly,
I
because there's no
like
action.
gambling even, and I never used it.
That's
To
what
be
I'm
fair,
saying.
they
Like in
never
my
had
opinion, like
any
I've used it. It's
liquidity
just
until now. I think the
that's
deal, the
true.
investment from Founders Fund was the liquidity potentially.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, nobody's been able to really use it with any amount of size until recently.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look, this is the open interest, 80 million bucks. You know, I mean, again, it's not to denigrate them. This is incredible, and I hope it keeps going. But you're not making any. You can't make one market with 80 million bucks of open interest. You know, like let alone hundreds of markets. So,
Yep.
we'll see where it goes. I hope that it's this would indicate that we're halfway through the month, and so it matches. Maybe it continues to go. So we'll see where it goes. I'm still bullish poly market, but I just think it's an input it's an input versus like this is the way that retail is going to get onboarded. Because most people don't gamble. Most
Mhm.
people, and if they're looking to gamble, they want to gamble. You know,
Yep.
like the casino is still what you want to do, right? The casinos, like the slot machine is still a better product than the racing track. And so like this is what people want to do still, and so I think that's at the end of the day, like that's still a product that's here, and this is not quite the move yet. So we'll see. The good thing is that's interesting is like these are all different things that are sort of like geared towards the onboarding. Because this year we had Friend Tech, right, which is all about onboarding people as well in the social. It didn't really, to be fair, right, but it was at least one layer above the infra layer, so that was kind of interesting.
Yep.
Number two, we had Pump, right, and meme coins in general. I'd argue that's the best onboarding so far. I think the most amount of people that come in is through that, and this is the sort of the third iteration of it, which I think is a more like not quite as exciting look as the meme coin world, but still, I think it's good that these things are happening at least. And Moonshot is an example. I still think Moonshot is like probably, in my opinion, out of everything we've seen, is probably one of the best ways to onboard people. Right? That's an
Yep.
experience people are familiar with. It's on the phone. You don't think about liquidity. It's easy to buy. So, I think that's like those to me are like good ones. And again, Polymarket, I think it's a great tool, but I bet you 90% of people that know about Polymarket are just viewers. They're not contributors.
Yep.
Versus if you're in the shitcoin game, you're not really viewing it unless you're playing. Um,
Yep.
so
True.
anyway, we can get off that. But um, let's see, what else do we got here?
Well,
I think maybe
yeah,
the
I
last thing before
think
we get out of here, or actually, go ahead.
just quick comments. I think we were talking about this cycle being different, which I think it is in a lot of ways, but a lot of the narratives are still the same. Like normie onboarding or potential for normie onboarding, I think is still by far the biggest narrative that pushes coins or products or whatever. So like I think the psychology in that way hasn't changed very much.
Yep, I think
Um,
that's probably true. Oh,
yeah.
here's the volume in Polymarket. This was $1 billion in a month. Got it. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
You know.
it's pretty damn good, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is pretty solid. Anyway, I won't draw any more comparisons. But um, maybe the last thing, at least from my end, is a little bit about wBTC, Wrap Bitcoin. Um, a lot of people like me are, or maybe not a lot of people. At least I'm one of those people that's like too lazy to buy Bitcoin proper, and I just buy Bitcoin on ETH. And so the historical way of doing this has been to wrap Bitcoin, which is just truthfully, I didn't really have a good sense of what was going on there, or who was holding it, or like where it was. But it's apparently it's BTC is being stored by Bitcoin by BitGo, one of the big custodians. Right? There's BitGo, Fireblocks, a few of these folks are the big custodians. And apparently they've got a big bag of Bitcoin there, and then they've mirrored it and wrapped it and locked it up and held it for use on Ethereum. Um, and it seems like they are. I don't know why. Do you know why they're getting out of this, Will?
I do not. I have not seen any
Okay, but
like plausible explanation.
got it. Okay, but for some reason, BitGo is planning to basically let go of their hold on wBTC into a joint venture, basically splitting up into multiple areas. One of them being something called Bit Global, and doing this in partnership with, the one and only Justin Sun, the founder of Tron, and the I guess what is that, Grenada, or what country is he the ambassador? I can't remember, but
See, I've
Justin
forgotten
Sun
about
is.
that. Yeah, I think it is Granada. Yeah.
So what's Justin Sun is very famous guy in crypto. Not known to be the most scrupulous dude, although it's never been like really confirmed. And I'm not going to make any claims. I don't really know him. But there's a lot of articles, salacious articles about his history and his background. And so it really is just one of those things where, like, I hold a lot of wBTC as a simple example, so I care. But like Maker seeing this, MakerDAO, which holds wBTC in its treasury as a reserve for DAI, its stablecoin, is now thinking about delisting wBTC because now they don't think it's trustworthy anymore. Now that Justin Sun's involved. And so anyway, there's really nothing to think about here or to do really at this point other than to watch. If you are holding wBTC, right, if this gets delisted, maybe it gets depegged or whatever, there's just something to worry about because you're not actually holding Bitcoin. There's just something to actually keep in mind here, and pay attention to as a potential thing to think about if you're holding Bitcoin on ETH like me. And we saw this the other day. I'm not an Adam Cochran fan, whatever, but Coinbase just tweeted out yesterday CDBTC too. So maybe that's the move. You can, we'll be able to move our wBTC to CBBTC, which I would think is a positive, honestly. I think Coinbase is it would be like a very strong and stable and
I
steady
think it'd be
custodian. And so
better,
that'd be,
honestly.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree with that.
they hold over 4% of the Bitcoin supply, so they can offer a ton of liquidity. I'm
Yep.
pretty excited about that. I have no idea. I mean, all we know is this tweet so far, I think.
Yep. Exactly.
So we'll see what
Exactly. So
happens.
it's just one of the weirdest moves ever for BitGo, who's like a huge custodian, right? And one of the best ones to partner with, what people consider to be a criminal. And if he's not a criminal, he's at least on the run from 3 different countries, which sort of certainly implies something. And so it just feels like a strange move. And a weird way to get out of the WBC. So I wonder what's going on there. There's got to be something happening. Maybe it's expensive to do or whatever. But anyway, strange movement. But if you're holding wBTC, you should pay attention and at least keep your eyes open and watch what's going on there,
I mean, I
in
would
case he
think
didn't get out.
being the main custodian and operator of one of the most, if not the most important asset aside from stablecoins in DeFi is just like a money printer. I mean, I can't believe that they're giving this up, honestly.
You and me both. I
Makes
don't
no
really
sense.
understand. I don't really understand what's going on there, but anyway, we will find out.
We'll find
Um,
out. Yeah, I'm sure there's some story behind this that we'll find out in a few weeks.
oh God, yep, cool. Anything else, Will? Maybe your last shill of the week. Anything to shill the community?
Yeah, I mean, my only shill is Aave that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. We
Nice.
purchased it on the Beluga trading wallet on this last dip, which, by the way, for anybody who's been wanting to track that, will be up and public on our website very soon,
Sick.
which is exciting. But yeah, I mean, Aave is looking really strong. I think I maybe talked about it in the last podcast we recorded, but just for like a quick recap, the Aave thesis basically comes down to this temperature check proposal that got a lot of love. I think 2 weeks ago now that they posted it, which is basically up until now, the Aave token has been just for governance on the Aave platform, which, if you don't know Aave, you can think about it like a crypto bank, basically. You can take your collateral there, you can take a loan out on the collateral. And it's by far the biggest in the space. But the problem with the token is one, the inflation rate, and two, that there's been no actual value accrual mechanism. So nothing that the project is doing itself in terms of revenue and attention has a direct impact on the token. Now, as of this temperature check proposal, that would change. So revenue would be diverted towards buying back the token. So that's exciting for basically the main reason that it will now have a direct value accrual mechanism, which, as we saw with I think a pretty good comparison would be Maker when they switched
Yep.
on their fee switch to start buying back their token. The price started going absolutely nuclear. So that's kind of the similar move that I'm looking for. I also think, for what it's worth, that we will have some DeFi rotation in the near future. Feels like meme coins are getting kind of tired and frothy, and I've seen a lot of people basically begging to be buying things that make sense to buy again. So I think it's a pretty good bet on a couple fronts. It also would benefit hugely from positive ETH price action because it's on ETH. So yeah, that's I guess my shill of the week. And follow the or subscribe to the Beluga newsletter if you want to keep up with our trading wallet in the interim before it's up on the site.
Totally.
Um,
Cool.
how about yourself? You got a
I
show?
got nothing this week. I'm going to be getting back into it, just watching. But I will be buying. I'm going to do the classic thing I do, which is spray across a million things, which will force me to pay attention. And then out of those, I'll take an L on like 80% of them and then double down to one and hope it all comes back, you know. So
Yep, I did that. I did that this week.
oh God, sometimes crypto, somebody look at it like what goes on, you're like, dude, this is mental illness, you know. That's like permanently damaged my brain. But here we are. At the end of the
Yeah,
day, it's still
it is
money,
what it
which is good
is.
enough for me.
At
So
at least all our skills in crypto are really transferable to other
yeah,
industries
exactly.
if this doesn't work out.
Oh God, you know. Anyway, well, we'll just we'll sit here and wait for the blow off top, and then we'll all be laughing after. So, um,
Yep, that's the plan.
anyway, looks like another week. But thanks for stopping by, and we will catch you all next week.
All right, later.
See you guys.